So, welcome back to the channel. Today we got a little bit of a different piece of content for you. I'm really excited to share this because it's a powerful, powerful story. I got my brother Jonathan with me. He's incredibly jacked, which is awesome.
That's not true.
But I love it because his story is just it's a powerful story of genuine love, and it's a great example of pretty much what I teach, which is real self-love and self-care is actually selfless more than it is selfish. So right now there's you see this huge move right now, bro, of love yourself, and it's all about me season, me.
Right.
Which there's truth to that, but it can get toxic really quickly. And I think you're going to share some things that you experience to do to save your marriage. That was you were taking care of yourself, but it was coming out of a selfless place as well. You see what I'm saying? It overflowed into that. And so I hope you guys get a lot out of it. I hope this encourages you. I know I have so many followers that are on the brink of divorce, are thinking about divorce, and so many that are wanting to save their marriage. And I know, dude, one of my buddies told me this once, that his wife was like, wait, so Frank's a divorce coach? So does he teach people how to get divorced? And I was like, no. So that's why now it's I'm a divorce recovery coach is my expertise. But I would love to eventually add on into my program how to, before that happens.
Right.
You know what I mean? Get a solution before you get to that point. And so I think this is just going to be a good catalyst to start introducing that type of content to people. And I couldn't have thought of a better person to bring on, bro, than someone as vulnerable as you are. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And just as open and honest and willing to share your testimony, and just of what God did in your life, in your wife's, in your family's life, and where you guys are now. And so if you want to, brother, just go ahead and introduce yourself. Obviously, they know you're Jonathan and that you're jacked, but there's so much more to you. And then just kind of give us a little basic foundation of your story. And then we'll jump straight in.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for having me on the show today. And
Yeah.
I'm truly humbled to be here. Yes, I'm Jonathan. I like to work out. But seriously, taking my story back to the very beginning is kind of, where it got bad.
Yeah.
And I mean that by, we were in a kind of relationship where we were kind of living in the world and not necessarily living for the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got pregnant right away. And then we got married because that was the right thing to do.
And y'all were young, right?
We were 22, 23 years old. And so, yeah, Jessica got pregnant, and I was so immature. I wasn't ready to be a dad.
Yeah.
And I had no idea how I was going to provide or anything. So we jumped into it. We got a shotgun marriage, if you will. Found out she was pregnant in November, and then December 2nd, we were married.
Dang.
And then December 16th, I joined the Navy, and I was gone. So I went to boot camp, went to Corps school, I was a Navy hospital corpsman for a number of years. And when I came back, we moved to San Diego. It was our first duty station.
Mm-hmm.
And I came home to a wife and a son.
Yeah.
And we were still figuring it out, figuring out what does marriage mean, and how do you love one another and respect one another and give each other, space when needed.
Yeah.
But, fast forward a couple of years, we made that work, made it through that duty station. And then it was, hey, Navy's saying that you got to go overseas.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to Japan. And
Jeez.
That was heavy because my wife's support system, all of her family, my support system and my family were all in California.
Yeah.
So we knew what it was. We knew what we signed up for. really tried to find different ways to get out of that, but it didn't work out, and we ended up going to Japan, and that's where things got really tough because Jessica struggled with postpartum depression. Uh, I didn't add that we had a second son while we were in San Diego,
Okay.
and so we had a 9-month-old and a 2.5-year-old when we moved to Japan.
Jeez, bro. Talk about a transition season.
Yeah, it was difficult, but when I got there, I found myself like the way that I dealt was I just went to work and did what I had to do, and Jessica was just really struggling at the time, and I was just oblivious to it.
Dang.
I thought like, hey, you know what? She'll get over it. It's okay. We'll just keep pushing through. We'll keep doing what we've been doing and just faking it until we make it.
How old were you?
At that time, I was probably 27.
Okay. I mean, that kind of makes sense. You still have that mindset of just like trying to figure it out. And at the same time, like, and I don't know what your upbringing was, but nobody really teaches you that.
No, it's
nobody's like, hey, she's going to go through a lot. This is how you show up.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
The only thing that I was ever taught that I can remember is that you just got to work hard.
Yeah.
And take care of your family.
what does that mean?
Yeah, just work hard. So I took it as, okay, I'm just going to go to work and do what I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, then there was this awkward kind of transition period where Jessica, she kind of started her own business and got into becoming like the entrepreneurial spirit within her really came alive.
Yeah.
And so she started a business and found success in that very quickly. And then, she was always kind of like a health advocate. So she was always in the gym, always working out. And I think she discovered a passion for working out.
Mm-hmm.
We both shared that passion, but it was just on different playing fields.
Yeah.
And then she got like this person, right, that came in and was he's my coach and he's going to help me and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to support her in here because she's thriving in this.
Yeah.
And, it just, there were tons of signs, but I refused to accept them, where it was like, hey, I'm going to the gym in the morning before you go to work, and then I'm going to come home, and then I go back to the gym after you go to work, kind of, and I'm going to go out and do my business, meeting at some place on base, and then afterwards go out in town while I'm at home, taking care of our kids, and, it would be late nights, like super late nights. Sometimes it was just like very unusual.
Yeah. And you were in Japan, so it's not like, hey, I'm going to go hang out with the girls.
Right. Yeah. And still to this day, I mean, most of the times it was, hey, I'm going out with the girls, or, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. So then I started getting suspicious, and then I became like really, insecure and just felt like, man, if I just work harder, if I go to the gym and I just put in more time in the gym and I look better, and, became very self-conscious of who I was.
Yeah.
And
Here, try bringing the mic just a little bit closer to you.
Sure.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Yeah, and just knowing what my purpose was.
Mm-hmm.
And then, fast forward a little bit longer, and then Jessica asked, she wants to be separated. And I was like, just completely lost.
Just out of nowhere, just blindsided?
Out of nowhere. Just, first it was brought up, my friend thinks that we should just maybe separate and just give me some space and allow me to kind of figure things out. And I was in the mindset of like, no.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
And who the hell is your friend telling you this?
Yeah,
like what kind of friend is that?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't have any control over who her friends were and how she was making those decisions. But yeah, we tried to do the marriage counseling on base, and that ended up being like a huge disaster because I thought that we were going to counseling to reconcile our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point the counselor was like, oh, I thought I was preparing you all for divorce. And I'm like, whoa, I don't,
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really hard because Jessica wasn't really, she would show up to the counseling sessions, but she wouldn't show up.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't speak, share her mind, any of that info. So I was left there on the couch just like in tears, and just a mess.
Yeah.
Like, how do I fix this? How do I save this?
Mm-hmm.
And, I just, I think at some point there, I needed help.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that I wasn't getting it through whatever the military was providing through their marriage counseling.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that they don't have great marriage counseling or that it just wasn't working for us.
Yeah.
So I reached out to a friend of mine who's a pastor in San Diego and just kind of shared what was going on. And I needed somebody to pray with me and somebody to kind of mentor me and guide me on what decisions and what steps that I needed to take in order to be able to save my marriage.
Yeah.
And, the affair was always deny until we moved back to San Diego at the end of the duty station. And we moved back, and right when we land in LA, her parents are there and my parents are at the airport, and she basically like takes our kids and leaves with her parents, and I leave with my parents, and I'm just like, wow, we're really
Like, this is really
like
happening
now
right
we're
now.
physically separated.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult for me. I struggle a lot with, anxiety and just, it's a perfect opportunity for the devil to kind of come in and plant all those seeds of
all
doubt
those
and
stupid lies.
and you're not worth it. You're not worthy. Like, so anyways, then we're physically separated. I find out like, cause she had left her social media logged in on my laptop, and this was wrong. So don't do this. But I was searching, I wanted to know what was going on. And I found out that she was pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah. And talk about like, that was my rock bottom. That was the hardest thing that I ever, can think of that I experienced throughout the whole thing. Like, the affair and the lying about it and whatever else it was all hard.
Mm-hmm.
But it was when I found out that she was pregnant, I was like, no way.
Yeah.
It's like made all of those beliefs that I had and
even more.
just boom, and so I told Nick about it, my mentor, and he was like, what do you want to do? Like, you're justified if divorce is like where you want to go, and
Mm-hmm.
and like biblically you're
good.
Mm-hmm. But that's not where I was, and that's not what God was put on my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I made a covenant before God to this woman, and she made one to me, and even though whatever happened, I still want to fight for my marriage. Like, I still want to make this work.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I just, laced up the boots and got to work, man. Nick also was telling me that, he doesn't envy what I'm going through, obviously. Mm-hmm. And the things that he's going to ask of me are going to be the most difficult thing that he could, think of. Yeah. And he doesn't know if he could necessarily do it himself. But the thought that kept resounding in my mind was, what does God want? Like, you're a Christian man. You believe in Jesus Christ and the heart of Jesus. Yeah. What would they want? Do they condemn my wife because of the actions that she took? Dang.
Dang, bro.
What have I done in my life that I should be condemned for? That people don't know about. Mm-hmm. So it's like, how do you deal with that? You have to sit down and have those difficult conversations with yourself.
Yeah. And with him, man.
And with him.
You got to get real honest with him real quick.
Right. And I think just through that journey was where I really found how to, process and deal. There's a quick story I want to share real quick about when I found out that she was pregnant. I got really, I was at my parents' house and upstairs in my room. I'm on the laptop and I see that, and it was just like almost like a panic attack, where it's like you can't breathe and your heart's fluttering and you've got like this weird feeling in your stomach and just like your mind is racing. It was just insane.
Mm-hmm.
And I had rage, and then I had compassion, and it was just all the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So I come downstairs and my dad like just sees it on me. He says, "Hey, what's wrong?"
Yeah.
And I was just like, I couldn't say anything. And he's like, "Jonathan, are you okay?" I'm like, "She's pregnant." And he's like, "Who's pregnant?" I'm like, "Jessica, she's pregnant." And he's thinking, y'all like, "Oh, that's a good thing."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it's not mine. The baby's not mine. And so I had to kind of, I don't know what I was thinking at the time, but I left. I went and got in my truck and I drove up to the mountains. And I'm pulled over in this, turnout. And I'm just thinking of all the things, going through all the emotions. And I really contemplating driving my truck off the cliff.
Yeah.
And then I had like an argument with God. And I'm like, what the hell? You know? What?
Come on, man.
Like, sometimes we think that when we talk to God, it's all about, I love you, God, and please do this for me, and please do that for me,
And
like,
glorious is your majestic righteousness.
Right,
Like all these words.
Yeah. It's like, that's not a real relationship.
Nope.
Like discovering that real relationship and knowing that you can bring everything before him, and it was cool because he showed up, and I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to drive off this cliff right now, but I'm so mad and I'm so hurt. And what can I'm thinking tomorrow's my son's birthday.
Wow.
And I've got to go spend time with her and the kids and act like I don't know.
Yeah.
And
wow, man.
Dude, heavy.
Yeah.
So
That's real heavy, bro.
I asked the Lord, I said, hey, God, like, I need a sign. I need you to show up right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like Nick calls me. Hey, just, checking in on you or whatever. Or he sent me a text message and then I called him and I'm like telling him everything that's going on. He's like, you need to come to church tomorrow down in San Diego. And I'm up in kind of the LA area.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm not coming. Tomorrow's Jaden's birthday and we've got everything planned and I'm not coming. And he's like, you need to come to church tomorrow. I'll come up there and pick you up. I'll pay for gas. Whatever. You just got to get here. And so I just couldn't come up with any more excuses.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'll come to church. So I came to church. I got up early in the morning. Not that I slept very well, if at all. And I drove down to San Diego, went to church. And then afterwards, he and a couple of men from the church prayed for me.
Yeah.
And just were like, he encouraged me to show up and make the day about my son and not about Jessica at all. Just focus on him, and it's his birthday, it's his day. So that's what I did. And the whole time I'm looking at my wife in a bathing suit and just knowing that she's, pregnant.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, broken.
Yeah.
But I did. I made the day about Jaden, and we did dinner and lunch and, all the things.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went our separate ways at the end of the day. The next day or 2 days later, we met up to do like a, transfer of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked with Nick again, and he's like, hey, man, you need to apologize to her.
You're like, are you serious, bro?
What? Apologize?
Yeah. I bet you so many men that are listening to this right now are like, what are you talking about? Apologize to her.
Dude, and the funny thing is, you think about you in my, at least for me, my mindset was that is so weak. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I can see that in the comments already. That's beta,
right?
Yeah,
that's and it's like, dude, I had to really chew on that, because the meek will inherit the earth, and I had to think about like what true strength and humility was in that moment, right? And I had to it's a choice. Everything that we do,
everything is a choice.
Everything's a choice. We can choose to walk around with unforgiveness in our hearts and on our back, and it just weighs us down. It creates all of this cascade of everything.
Yep.
Or we can choose to walk in freedom, you know, and know that it's just all a distraction.
Yeah.
You know, from the one thing that I can think of, and it's just pointing me back to the Lord, and it's just like, hey, watch what I can do.
Yeah.
You know, like, trust me. When all trust is broken at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, trust, that's the last thing I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
But it's a choice. So that next, Sunday or whatever it was, I asked Jessica, hey, give me those earrings that she had on, because I spent thousands of dollars for some diamond earrings. Like, can I get those earrings? Get that wedding ring and wedding band or whatever. I'm thinking to myself, hey, I'm just going to prepare myself. Like, I'm going to, sell this stuff and now have a little bit extra money. I can get my own place and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like the thought came back to me, hey, you got to apologize to her.
Gosh. You just try and ignore it.
I'm like, that's not real.
Yeah. That's Satan talking.
Get behind me,
yes.
Satan. No. So I did. I told Jessica, I said, hey, you know what? Like, I know. And she's like, you know what? I said, I know. And she's just, kind of, she doesn't want to tell me. Obviously, I get it.
Yeah.
It's heavy to deliver. So, anyway, she goes, what, that I'm getting fat? I'm like, man. Like,
no, why you're getting fat.
Yeah. What's the reason behind that? No, then she just broke down.
Man.
And she was like, I'm so sorry. This is, and I just hugged her. I just embraced her and told her that I love her and that I'm sorry, and that I forgive her, and, we can figure this out. Obviously, her heart being like so hardened toward me, and to a place where she was able to kind of step out of our marriage and have an affair. It's not like something that could be fixed like, overnight.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was a seed that was sown on that Sunday that, grew into where we're at today. And that is, I got a bonus daughter, Jordan Marie. She's
beautiful, man.
Oh man, I'm going to cry. I just baptized her this past weekend.
Come on.
Dude, it was amazing.
Let's go, brother.
Wow. Waterworks. So yeah, I have a beautiful little girl. She's 6 years old now, praise God. And, that's where I learned that, hey, you got to come back. But the way your comeback story is not going to be an overnight story. You know what I mean? It's come back and build those foundational pillars for your relationship.
Yeah.
Be your wife's friend. Help her. Have conversations with her. Talk about the things that suck. Talk about her dreams. Where she wants to be and where she wants to go.
Yeah.
Pray for her. That was the best advice that I received from Nick was just pray. It's funny how he said it too. Just pray your guts out, man. You're going to have to pray your guts out.
Yeah.
And then obviously, there was all the tools along the way. But in a nutshell, that's basically what I did. I continued to pray for my wife, became her friend. We still lived in separate houses. And, I showed up. I'd go to work in the morning, 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Get off work at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Drive straight to her place, stay with her, do things with the kids, put the kids to bed, and then see if there's any way that I could help her.
Yeah.
Excuse me, while she was, pregnant. And, just support her in every aspect of her pregnancy.
Yeah. And at this moment, if I remember correctly, at this moment, you were doing all of this with like no expectation of, I'm trying to win you back. It was just, I just want to be your friend.
Exactly. We're going to do this. We have kids together. We have children.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be friends. You know, we need to be able to get along.
Mm-hmm.
And it was no expectation of reconciling the marriage. It was just, okay. And it wasn't like I was, oh, well, my wife is, you know, she went out and did all this stuff or whatever, and now she's pregnant. Like, oh, I got a green light. I can go do me.
Yeah.
You know, I could go.
You did go do you, but
not
healthy way.
Exactly. I went and did me in the aspect of I built a relationship with the Lord.
That's so good, man.
And there's that right there is a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like getting better mentally, physically, emotionally, and just all those aspects of I'm not going to choose to go and drink and be in the world and out partying and all these things.
Just numbing
and trying to get rid of and, you know, like start new. But I did start new just the right way, I believe. You know, at least a way that, I don't know, just brought satisfaction to me.
Yeah.
On a whole nother level.
It's like, it's something that I talk about a lot, and it's that you can be experiencing pain and be going through hell, but be happy. It's kind of like that. Because I remember like just when I went through my thing, through my divorce, it was like, you know, which I'm happy that y'all's didn't end in that, right?
Right.
But when I was going through my painful season, it was painful, but I went into the Lord, right? And I dove deep into that. And although it was painful and I was going through hell, I was happy at the end of my prayer times. Right. I was satisfied. And it was that weird feeling of like, dang, this sucks, dude. But you know what I mean? You're like, this really sucks. But man, I know God's got me and I can't see it right now, but I know you got me. Yeah. Right. And so it's that weird balance that we can experience. Right. I have this quote that Mike Tyson says, and he says that life happens on its terms. Right. We don't really have a choice in what life does to us. But I've added on to that. And life happens on its terms, but we get to experience life on our terms.
Yeah.
It's the perspective that we choose. It's the choices that we make, right? It's how do you want to experience the hell that you're going through? Because regardless, you're going to go through it.
Right.
So how do you want to go through it? You want to go bitter? You know what I mean? You want to go through it bitter or you want to go through it better?
Come on.
Like at the end of the day. And what I love about this story, man, it's like... And I don't know if you... So I'm editing this video right now, and the camera didn't capture the entire interview. So the rest of it is going to be audio only. It's still incredible. So if you're listening to this while you drive, at least now you can focus on the road. If you're doing something around the house, then just leave your headphones in and listen to the rest of the story because it is powerful. And I'm so sorry that the video cut off, but I really hope that it continues to bless you. Realized that you were doing it in this specific way, but you were doing it like the Lord. You were doing like Jesus loves the church, which is how God called us to love our wives. Like,
let me pause you real quick. I just discovered this recently. The verse says to love your wives as Christ loved the church, but the rest of the story says that we have to love ourselves. Yeah. Right? And so if we can...
Yes, hit on this.
Love ourselves, then we can love our wives as Christ loved the church. But we have to love ourselves first. If we don't love ourselves, if we're not helping ourselves, like you mentioned earlier about...
true self-care and self-love.
Right. Through an act of humility and not so much as an act of
selfishness,
so selflessness rather than selfishness. And I thought that, man, that was so powerful. I wish I would have, you know, that would have been a thing that I knew then. This is why I'm working on myself, so that I can be able. But I was already doing it. Yeah. I just didn't know the knowledge behind it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's so beautiful, man, because you were walking it out. And then later on, you're like, that's what I was doing.
Come on.
and I didn't know that I was doing it.
Mm.
Like that's powerful, bro. And I just love that because it's so true. Like you can't give from an empty cup. And I saw somebody post today, Pastor Crystal Sparks, she said that the beginning of like a relationship with Christ and true salvation is receiving forgiveness and understanding that you're forgiven.
Right.
Because here's the thing, bro. If we go to Chihuahua, Mexico, like my family can show us around there
Mm-hmm.
because they've been there. I've rarely been there,
Right.
right? If they come to Dallas, I'll show them all over Dallas because I've been here.
Right.
You can't take people somewhere you haven't been.
Wow.
So how can you forgive when you haven't learned to receive forgiveness?
Yeah.
You don't know what that feels like. So you can't extend it. But what I'm hearing you say is that you dove into the relationship with the Lord. You started analyzing, what things have I done, man? And what
Yes.
things have he forgiven me for? And then you began to receive that out of a place of gratitude, like, dude, thank you. And then out of that overflow, you were able to, not easily,
Right.
because it's not easy, but you were able to extend forgiveness.
Yes, 100%. That's wow. Obviously, you're more, able to unpack that in a way that people can understand. But 100%,
Dude, it's just beautiful, man. And the fact that you took the pressure off of her, right? It's like, it's something that I teach my men. It's like women are like birds and they want to be free, or like cats, right? Like how many times do you see a cat owner chasing their cat around? Boy, that thing jumping all over the house, right? But when the cat's ready to come back and cuddle, it comes back and cuddles.
right.
It has to be the cat's choice. It's the same thing with us. God doesn't hunt us down. He's always there.
Right.
He's always open, arms wide open. But he's like, hey, when you're ready,
Mm.
I'm not gonna pressure you. I'm just you come to me, and when you come to me, I'm running towards you too. And that's what you did. You said, hey, I just want to be your friend.
Right.
Pressure off. Don't worry about me trying to get back with you. Don't worry about this. Like, I just want to make sure you're good. And that was so pure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I believe that's probably the reason why all of it happened is because, first of all, you loved her like Christ loved the church. You did it out of such a selfless place with no expectations, no strings attached, which is so hard to do, man.
Right. It's so many people have said that to me, right?
Mhm.
And how difficult and how hard it was. And even my mentor was like, hey, the things that I'm asking you to do, I couldn't do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it was a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, once I made that choice, I owned it,
Yeah.
and I was just like, and I didn't care what the world thought about it.
Yeah.
Oh, how come your wife lives there and you live down here? Or how come, oh, your wife had an affair? Or, whatever it
Yeah.
was. It was just like, dude, I don't care what other people think.
It's just noise.
It's just noise.
Mhm.
And I'm going to focus on what's really important. Being a dad to my kids,
Mm-hmm.
providing for my kids, loving their mom regardless.
Yeah.
So one day when they look back and they see, how did their dad handle that situation?
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about alpha and beta earlier, and just kind of understanding, people would think that because that's what the world would tell you, but really sit down and reflect on that. That's
Yeah.
about the most alpha thing you could do.
Literally, bro. That's the most G'd up thing you could possibly do.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
What's weak in my mind is taking that excuse
Mm-hmm.
to run.
Yep. Yeah. And to self-pity and to harvest anger and to get nowhere in life and to start going around and just sleeping with a bunch of women because now I can.
Right.
It's easy. That's
Yeah.
easy. It's like that's what like right now in this culture you have like that fake alpha mindset, which is like F them, right? But that's not what it is. It's like a true alpha goes into the hard stuff and owns it and takes control of what they can control
Right.
and owns what they can control. You apologized for something that you did, regardless of what she did.
Yes.
Regardless, you were like, I'm going to own my part
Mm.
because I know, and in the moment, it probably didn't feel like, I know I messed up. I know you knew you messed up, but in that moment, you're like, I had a right, right? Probably.
Yeah.
But that's that's walking in true masculinity is saying, hey, you know what? Regardless of what they did, let me apologize and own what I did
Right.
because I'm responsible for my side of the street. So I'm going to clean my side up.
Right.
And I'm so sorry. I should not have done that. And that, bro, because somebody else would have just been like, you don't have to apologize, bro. You had every right to do that. It's an excuse. That's weak.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's looking for the easy route.
Yep.
It's, I love the idea that life is just a whole, bowl full of choices.
Yeah.
And there's so many different, things that we go through every day that it's just like, man, just choose. I tell my kids this because they they're boys 11 and or almost 11 and 13, and they fight and argue, right? Brothers do that.
Yeah.
But I told them, like, man, you guys know, like, you don't have to be so angry toward one another or say mean things to each other. Like, you're best friends. You're always going to be best friends.
Yeah.
Because you're brothers, and there's no bond that's stronger than that.
Yep.
And choose love. And they're like, whatever, Dad, like, choose love. I'm like, no, dude, but really, like, seriously, like, think about it. Think about if you were out and you got attacked by somebody and your brother's with you, what's going to happen? Is your brother going to say, I hate him. He got beat up.
Yeah.
No. Your brother's, regardless if you're on the right or if you're wrong,
jump in.
Your brother's jumping in.
Yep.
Exactly. And so, and that not to kind of derail where our conversation was going, but it's just more about choices and, choosing love.
Yeah.
And watching what will happen.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, that's what you chose, man. You chose love. And that's the purest thing that we can do. It's the most powerful force on earth.
Yeah.
100%. That's why babies that are born, if they're just left and they're not having physical contact with like the parents or any other human, they will perish.
Yeah.
It's because there's that lack of love. The soul literally needs love to live. And that's why the most powerful thing you can do is tell someone why you love them.
Come on.
That'll break chains off. Bro, I started doing this thing with, and I know we're getting a little bit off topic, but it's all stems around the same thing, operating out of love, right? With Jessica, you started operating out of love, right? With my parents, I've started operating out of a deep sense of love because I've never had the relationship that I wanted with them. So I'm being intentional about creating it. How am I being intentional? Out of love. Just yesterday, I called them and I just thanked them for being my parents. I thank them for showing up year after year after year. I thank my dad specifically for getting up at 4:30 in the morning every day to go work. I thank my mom for conquering extremely difficult situations in the family just so that we could all be together and the example that they set. And I just thank them deeply. That's pure love.
Right.
Bro, it unleashed, it like literally broke something in them. It brought healing to their heart. When you were loving your wife purely with no like strings attached, it started healing her heart. And that's what brought y'all back together.
Amen. Yeah. And it was through the prayer and just kind of doing life, we thought, what's important to us? If we're going to co-parent and we're separated, whatever, what's important?
Yeah.
Like making sure that our kids are raised in a good church, So we started going to church together, separated, and nobody knew our story.
Yeah.
Nobody, is just, we're going to church and we're going to show up. And through showing up and through that obedience, like the Lord showed up.
Yeah.
And he broke so much off of, Jessica and myself to a point where, through going to church, we were both, we learned about unforgiveness and what, not just between each other, but in every aspect. And I like what you brought up about your parents, because I was able to, have the conversation with my dad where I was like, hey, I forgive you, and it's so crazy because the relationship that he and I have now is
night and
day between what, and it was all because I was carrying the unforgiveness, the resentment, whatever, for, even though he was doing all the things, he was going to work every day. He was always present. He always provided all the things. And then, there might have been one or two or whatever situations when I was a child where, he didn't give me that affection.
Yeah.
Or was more of a authoritative figure rather than like a loving, caring kind of, embrace you.
Mm-hmm.
He was my stepdad,
Yeah.
you know, and he raised me since I was a couple months old, but he loved me,
Yeah.
you know, and now he'll call me.
Mm-hmm.
He'll shoot me a text. Hey, how are you guys doing? I love you guys. You know, I'm like, what? Who is this? and it got unlocked by, you know, choosing love and dealing
Yes.
with the unforgiveness.
Yes, bro. That's so powerful, man.
Yeah.
I love that because it's like a trend in your life.
Absolutely. Cascade effect.
Yes.
Just all of the areas where you know, you're lacking, or you give honor where honor's due,
Mm-hmm.
and you choose love. Honestly, like, you go through hard times, right?
Mm-hmm.
The word says to protect your hearts
Mm-hmm.
for when hard times come, because when they come, they're going to come.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that adversity? What
Yeah.
are you choosing? It's all a choice.
Mm-hmm.
We got to choose love.
I love that, bro. I love that. There's something that I teach, and it's one of our habits, and it's our habit of focus. And we all have it as humans. And we either focus on what's going wrong, we focus on what's missing, we focus on what we can't control, or we focus on what's going right. We focus on what we have, and we focus on what we can control. We have a choice in that matter.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing you say, bro, is that in this situation, you started focusing on what you can control, not what you can't control. You started focusing on what I do have, current relationship with my wife, with the kids, friendship, right?
Right.
And then you just started focusing on what could go right. That was it. Your focus shifted from, oh God, this is going to happen, this is going to go. And it doesn't mean that those thoughts didn't creep,
Right.
but it's not what you locked in on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that changes the outcome. Every single person that has ever worked with me or met with me knows this, bro. Your thoughts create your feelings. Those feelings, how you feel, dictate the way that you show up.
Yep.
And that dictates your results.
Yep.
And all you did, you changed your focus. You changed the way you thought about things. So you felt different. You showed up different. Got a way different result than what most people are getting nowadays.
Amen. 100%. Don't be conformed to the ways of this world or what people think you should do or act like, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yes.
And it's choosing those thoughts. How can the things that I can control, that's what I'm going to focus on. So.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. I love that, man. Bro, do you have an encouraging word for anyone that might be going? Because if they're listening to this, it's probably because they're going through something that you went through.
Yeah.
Do you have some encouraging words that you would love to leave with those people listening right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I would just encourage you to get into the Word, because it's going to unlock so much for you. Don't go to church and just have an expectation of, you know, somebody's going to preach to you and it's all going to be for you or about you, because it's not. What you need to do is get into the Word, because the Word is alive.
Yeah.
And it's constantly evolving, and it you know, it will unlock things for you, and it will bring you freedom. Kind of discover what unforgiveness you may have, and begin to work on that, work through that, and know that you always have hope. You can literally overcome this. This isn't your end all be all. This isn't the end of your story. There's hope. And if you want to chat, message me on Instagram, jwilt03, or you can find me on Facebook.
Yeah,
Jonathan Wiltshire.
I'm gonna tag you on everything
Okay.
too. I'm gonna tag you on everything too, bro, so that they want to get in contact with you, they can, man.
I'll share like the resources that I use too, like some of the books that I read, and you know, just how I got to where we are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, man, because it's awesome seeing you guys,
Thank you.
Just posting about each other and seeing y'all's family and where you guys are at now, and it's incredible because you went to the best coach ever. You went to God.
Amen.
You went to God, bro, and he coached you through it, like in the most the way that most people would be like, that's not right. You shouldn't do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I mean, for anyone that's listening to this, I know there's probably going to be a couple gentlemen listening to this that are currently working with me, and to these gentlemen, I've told them to do the exact same thing that you did. Honestly, because I'm like, I know it's called in my line of work, like the psychology side of everything, it's called breaking the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So you broke the pattern. You started showing up differently with yourself, right? So then you started showing up differently with her. So then she got a different perspective and was like, whoa, what is this?
Right.
Which builds curiosity and makes them want to know a little bit more. You know what I mean? It's very practical thing. And it brings you back like to almost like back down to earth. It's like, oh, wow, now we're out of that cycle. We're out of that rut because I broke the pattern. And that's something that you did by showing up differently. And so to those men that are listening to this right now, I want you to be encouraged by this story because I know what your goal is. Your goal is to save this marriage. And this is going to be so encouraging for you. And if you begin to apply everything that Jonathan said, which really is just operate out of love, man, and operate out of forgiveness, then I think you're going to be pretty satisfied with where you end up.